With that, we bring in Florida Congressman Michael Waltz. He serves on the House Armed Services Committee and is a former Green Beret commander. Congressman, great to have you with us. The White House has said that this trip to Saudi Arabia is not one that's being made out of desperation over the oil situation. What's your take?
Yeah, Martha, isn't it incredible that once again the president has boxed himself in with his asinine energy policy? That he is having to go over to the Middle East after insulting the Saudis throughout his campaign and go over as a supplicant. Basically, I mean, it's transparent to everyone that he's over there to Mother May I, beg and plead for the Saudis to pump more, when all he would have to do is take on the progressives here back home and pump more, which, oh, by the way, is cleaner American oil and gas. And if he would just do that, if he would just take them on politically, he would not only be lowering prices for Americans and helping himself politically, but he would also be starving oil-rich dictatorships around the world, from Iran to Venezuela to Putin himself, of their cash. And by the way, just very quickly, Martha, Putin right now is back at pre-war export levels. For every European country that has turned away, or the United States that turned away, China has stepped in twofold, and China has now seen a 50% increase in imports of Russian gas. So this is just broken across the board, and there is one fix: that's unleash American energy, and he refuses to do it.
Yeah, it's a great point. India is also taking a lot of Russian oil. So that's why Russia can afford to say, well, Germany, we're going to cut you off, because they're getting an enormous amount of demand coming from China and India and others in the course of this whole thing. With regard to, this is Oliver Knox's analysis. He wrote about this today. He said, that pariah, meaning MBS, has extensive access to the White House, new U.S. arms sales, and now a presidential visit, including a face-to-face with MBS, who wasn't even welcome on the phone a year ago. This over fierce opposition from Saudi human rights activists who see the Crown Prince as the architect of repression at home. And a U.S. intelligence report clearly laid out in February of 2021, Congressman, we assessed that Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman approved an operation in Istanbul, Turkey, to capture or kill Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. So what do you suggest we do about that?
Well, look, the killing of a journalist is despicable. It should be called out. It's unacceptable. But again, the president now put himself in the position, he did that, of having to then still go to the Saudis and beg them, as a leader of OPEC, to pump more. What we should do about it? We should pump ourselves. I do have to say, though, it is a bit ironic from the left, who are just having a meltdown over this trip and his engagement with MBS over the killing of a journalist. They say absolutely nothing when it comes to the president's engagement, and I would say even pandering to the Chinese that are arresting and murdering journalists, human rights activists, doctors who call out COVID, and 1 million Muslims. So, I mean, it is a little kind of all over the place from their perspective, and a bit hypocritical.
Yeah, quick question with regard to Nicaragua. There are reports that Russian troops are training in Nicaragua at this point. How much of a concern is that to you?
Oh, it's a huge concern. I mean, I feel like we're going back to the 70s with the Biden administration, and we're going back to that as well. The Russians in Central America, they were already in Venezuela. This administration, as we saw with the disaster that was the Organization of American States, has completely turned their back on the Western Hemisphere, on our own backyard. Well, you know who's there big time? The Chinese, who control both sides of the Panama Canal now, and now the Russians. So, I mean, it's just, once again, just a disaster after disaster on the foreign policy front from this administration. Final thing, I hope, back to the Saudi trip, the president can sit aside his disdain of President Trump, his ego, and actually talk about the Abraham Accords. He's going to Israel after. Wouldn't it be great if we revived that amazing dialogue and had some kind of engagement between the United States, the Saudis, and the Israelis to start moving peace in the Middle East forward again?
Yep,
that's what I hope to see.
Would be a very powerful alliance, and that was a huge breakthrough agreement reported on all sides. Thank you very much, Congressman. Always good to see you, Congressman Michael Waltz. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Martha.
You bet.